Lust Corrupts, Part 1. Hiram always valued wisdom, but he became enamored and lost in the idea of possessing the wisdom in a material way. SOF 610. Hiram dwelt long in Egypt and absorbed its wisdom, but the thing which delighted his heart the most was the tale of its long-hidden treasures. He learned about the nest-burning bird, whose wondrous many-hued egg granted men the gift of eternal life. He heard about the serpent pearls and the bright jewels which glowed with the light of the sun, even on the darkest night. All these things he desired to possess for himself. Did Hiram set out to use the shepherd, or did he still have a heart that was swayed by love? SOF 611. The nesting place of the nest-burning bird was among the Mothbenim, eastward of Egypt, but among the treasures of Egypt was one of its eggs. The egg, the pearls, and the jewels were safeguarded in a dark cave upon an island called En-Mishpet, which was set in the middle of a lake called Sedana. In the waters of the lake were fearsome water monsters, part beast, part fish. On the shores of the lake dwelt the shape-shifting priests, guardians of the treasures. SOF 612. Northward of the lake was a broad pasture land where the shepherd Namen tended the temple flocks, but Namen was old and had no son who would follow him. Therefore he took Hiram into his household, and Hiram became as a son to him, tending the sheep of the temple, and no Egyptian was with him. Did God by chance provide an alternative to remind Hiram, maybe even try and stop him from damaging his own soul before it was too late? Whatever the case is, Hiram was offered a second treasure, this one for the spirit. Would Hiram embrace this treasure, or still lust after the earthly one? SOF 613. One day, while the sheep still suckled their lambs, Hiram was out in the pastures, sitting near the cool waters because of the heat. As he reclined in the shade, he played gay shepherd tunes on his flute, and in the many times he had been there, no one had ever disturbed him. Yet, not far away was the house of the virgins of Ellery, but the maidens who dwelt there rarely went abroad. SOF 614. This day, however, Asu, daughter of the high priest, walked abroad, and hearing the melody of the flute, drew near to listen. But Hiram did not see her because of the bush between them. The maiden sat down, taking the sandals off her feet. SOF 615. Hearing a cry from one of the sheep in the distance, Hiram stopped playing and stood up, his back towards the maiden. She, seeing him standing up, sought to creep away before he saw her, but as she did so, her foot was pierced by a thorn, and she let out a cry of pain. Hiram turned, and seeing her distress, hastened to help her. He withdrew the thorn tenderly and carried her down to the pool so that she could bathe the foot in cool waters. While she did so, he entertained her with sweet melodies on his flute. SOF 616. The maiden fell in love with Hiram, and he with her, but because she was a dedicated virgin and daughter of the high priest, neither could open the doors of their heart. The maiden spent nights weeping, for she had a love for which there was no remedy. Hiram took his flock to other pastures, but still their hearts drew them back to the place of meeting, and they met again and yet again. I find it ironic that a man valuing wisdom failed to recognize wisdom is not a thing you can steal. It must be bestowed and earned through labor. Yet he still fell into the all-too-earthly flaw of valuing things over experience and knowledge, treating it as a possession you can touch. Even the wisest can fall prey to human frailty. In fact, I'd say the danger is greater the more wisdom you think you have, because wisdom and pride goes before a fall.